What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Dare to Be Great podcast. Welcome back for episode 2, where I'm with another amazing human being, Mr. Henry Padilla. Good to have you on, man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, glad to have you here and glad to have you on for episode 2 because I know that from what I've heard, you have done a lot of daring, a lot of leaps of faith, and you're definitely pushing the limits of what it means to be great, and you're only getting started. To start out, I would love to hear about where you're at right now and what you're up to.
Yeah. So at the point of my life right now, I am a real estate agent licensed here in New Mexico, and we're in Albuquerque currently. Currently the team leader of the social team. Huge advocate of video media, just like Dustin is. And I absolutely love this kind of stuff, and that's what's really pushing my business out right now. So that's the main anchor of everything. And then also too, I decided lately to band together some of the most successful young realtors in our town and kind of band them together and kind of make an alliance to create a nonprofit to kind of help out small local businesses, like truly local businesses that have been here for a good amount of years, and give them the assistance that they need, whether it's physical, money, like say they need new product, they need to paint the walls, they need new chairs, whatever it may be, stuff like that. So we're just starting that up now, and it feels really nice to get all those people, not even being on the same team or brokerage, but as long as we're getting together like these realtors who honestly have had a good year even through this pandemic, thankfully, one of the best industries throughout it. So I know it's our duty to give back to our people here in town, because we're in that position. So that's one of the really major things that I have going on, exciting. And of course, the realtor life and all the media stuff is awesome, but the nonprofit is really one of the major things that I'm doing right now and that I love to do.
Awesome. We haven't gotten a chance to dive into that behind the scenes, but I would love to learn more. And I don't know if you're interested in having an insurance agent with you behind the scenes, but I think I may be interested in jumping on board. How long have you been a real estate agent now?
Going on a year and a half. A little over a year and a half now. Actually finished my first 6 months, made about good $5,000, and then this past calendar year made over 100. So there was a huge jump of production right there, and managing time and figure out all this crazy stuff, and then now branching off from being a agent on a team to a leader of a team. So it's just a bunch of building this ship as I sail type of thing, and excited. That's what excites me, honestly.
That's super exciting. That's quite a jump. What do you think inspired that movement? Do you think it was like a pipeline that was built, and then finally really was flowing? Or do you think just your leadership capabilities throughout, the first 6 months really grew and allowed you to expand? Is there something that stuck out to you that?
I would say it mostly just came from, confidence in myself to kind of like branch off and, take the leap, because, I still don't know everything. There's so much to learn about real estate. I still ask for help, but it was just the confidence that I got from a lot of my mentors, like Alex Cordova, Ramon Casals, all of them at Rock Real Estate Partners. They kind of gave me the confidence to kind of go out on my own and, just kind of figure this whole thing out. Cause I'm like, it was cool being a part of a leader, a part of their company and stuff, but I got into real estate to be the leader of my own company, and like be my own boss. And it's not to say like in real estate you don't really have a boss, but like in a leader sense, I wanted to be able to manage things and go about things that I wanted to do, because I feel like I'm doing things a lot differently in the industry and trying to start a new innovation to kind of like make things a lot more entertaining in this town and a lot more available to get information a lot quicker, just using the power of social media. And that's why we're called the social team, because just the amount of exposure that you can get just utilizing all these platforms that people don't use or don't even know of too much, like businesses. It's like I built my whole business off of social media and literally never made a cold call, never made a phone call, and last year actually sold the most units in the brokerage. So it's crazy. It's a crazy concept. So trying to like bring that over, and that's why a lot of people they're liking the pathway that we're going, because it's cool. Everybody wants to be on social media, but I'm like, dude, this takes a lot of work. It's a lot more than like Flash. We're out here for hours filming the videos, trying to figure out what we're going to do, the ads, what looks good, what is flopping, what isn't, and then putting our whole like life story out there to be judged. And it's like you have to do that to an extent to where you get business from social media. You don't put everything out there like you see in the life story video. Just like I was full force on like letting people know it's like, dude, you could have all these things going on in your past and still make a way in the future. And if you're willing to share that, maybe you could shed some inspiration and those people become your friends, become your clients, etc.
I think one of the coolest things that I've seen from your content is that you've been credible. Like people know who you are because you're willing to put that out there. And even though you're newer to the industry or now a year and a half, you've been able to reveal that to people and you've let them know like, here I am on my journey, join me on that journey and let's make the best of both worlds work out. Mm-hmm. Something that I thought was pretty cool that you touched on a second ago was confidence and mentorship and the way that those two things go together, especially when pursuing a bigger goal. I thought it was very interesting that your ties to mentors, finding people that you looked up to, really helped you increase your confidence level, and that in turn allowed you to take bigger steps, bigger leaps, and that only helped you develop better capabilities that kind of just build up full circle.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's super huge, especially in real estate, because this is a fully commission-based career. So it's like if you don't do nothing, nothing's gonna happen. And if you don't have the guidance, then like you're literally thrown to the wolves. You get your license, you're like, yeah, let's sell some houses. It's not like that at all. Because if you don't do anything for the first few months, like I told you earlier, 6 months made $5,000. So it's like, I was still trying to build my identity, build my brand that whole time, because people previously knew me as Henry the bodybuilder because I used to do bodybuilding for years. And I deleted over like 800 pictures and so many posts that had to do with bodybuilding. And now I rebranded myself as, Henry Padilla, the realtor. And then I was just building myself. And while I'm going through the process, I have like these people behind me, helping me, telling me what to do, well, like guiding me what to do, letting me make my fails and stuff, but like at least helping me when I'm like, oh, what the hell is going on with this? I've never seen this happen, And especially in real estate, because it's so lucrative and there's so much problem solving going on in this business, it's really it's something that you need, and that goes for anything in life,
Without action, nothing happens. It's especially important in your industry and in insurance as well. It's pretty similar, but I would like to believe that that's a good principle for anything, honestly, yeah. Right? Like if you're not willing to put in the work, then how could you expect anything to come back around to you? And people just don't usually see it like it. And this is a great space to learn how that life cycle works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, just going back, kind of to the mentorship. I think we were talking earlier about it. It's like if you don't hear the word or you don't hear a way of doing something, it's weird because there's only a few amount of people that could actually have the instinct to innovate, and that's very, very few. But if you don't hear the word of being like, hey, maybe you should do this or maybe you shouldn't do that, with good intentions, then it's just kind of like you're wasting so much time trying to figure it out instead of learning off of these other people's mistakes and putting yourself that much further, and saving yourself time, and you're able to progress your legacy a lot faster because you're able to learn from these people that are like, hey, I did that. Don't, you could try it, but this is what like fucked up when I did it. So let's surpass that. It took me 2 months to figure out that didn't work. Let me tell you what didn't work about it and let me maybe refine it. And let's turn that into 2 weeks instead of 2 months. Stuff like that.
How crazy is it that the who's in your life are more important than the how's? That if the first question you ask yourself is who can help me with this, or who can help me get this done versus how can I do this, you end up shaving off, months or years or decades off of how long it takes you to produce because of your willingness to be humble and to build relationships and give others an opportunity to share their voice to some capacity. Yeah,
exactly. And the more people you hear from too, that's where you get that initial innovation from. That's when you get that spark of like, nobody's telling me the word right now, but let me maybe put this word, and this word together. And then now you start coming up with innovation because now you're putting all these ideas together from what you've been taught, what you've learned on your own. And now that's where the innovation comes. And that's when you get that spark of, creating something new that's never really happened here. And that's kind of the point that where I got, because I had all these words going on around, and then that's whenever I'm like, oh, I could start innovating now. And that's when I started doing all the video content, the property tours, really bringing media out into Albuquerque and stuff. Like, we've never seen that when it comes to real estate media, you know, and we're doing it at such a high level, and there's a lot of people following suit in that. And I do love to see that. I'm just like, it just, because it, first off, it drives me, because I'm like, you know, I want to stay on the top. So I'm going to do literally every single thing that I can to make sure I'm at that top position. And just, you know, just because I want to be a model of it, because I've already put myself in that position, because, you know, people are following suit, and I want to make sure credited in that realm to stay that model and be like, oh, this dude fell off. He's not producing the videos like he did. He doesn't give a shit, you know. I like, it's just keeping my own confidence with it, you know, and being like, I want to be the leader of that industry alone, you know, real estate media. Because I mean, it is fun, and now it's becoming essentially competition, but, you know, just like any other friendly competition, you know, you want to stay on the top, you know, and that's just going to keep me grinding and grinding and grinding.
Speaking of innovation and becoming innovative and having those sparks, putting the words together, having a bigger and better vision is usually a key piece to that. What is your bigger and better vision, and how has that driven you so far, especially from where you've come from, which we haven't really gotten into yet?
Yeah, so I could kind of tell you my vision, and we could kind of hop back into kind of where that sparked from. So what I tell myself and what I tell all my teammates is basically our goal right now as a team is to turn these 30 years worth of work of all these other agents into 3. So we want to substantially produce what they're producing, what it took them 30 years, turn that into 3 years. And how? With the power of social media. You know, everything is just moving so fast, and we're just capitalizing on it as much as possible, always learning. I'm always trying to learn anything about it has to do with social media, video work, camera work, and we have one of the best on our team in New Mexico to help us with that. So we have so much tools and so much things going on with this, but that's our biggest goal right now, real estate wise, is to turn the 30 years into 3. And then on top of that is with the nonprofit, me and all the agents, you know, we're all competitive people, but we're all, you know, morally, we have the good moral compass to like make this thing so powerful and so huge that we want to be the number one like nonprofit organization for businesses. Because obviously being number one is not a selfish thing. That means just we're helping so many damn people, you know. So that's a key thing for me too. That's another grind that I'm just not going to stop until I get there. So those are the 2 major things for me right now, and you know, big goal wise.
Those definitely drive innovation. There's a lot of fun there with those 2 projects. I love that concept of doing in 3 years what other people have done in 30. I think this is an excellent time to do it, especially here in New Mexico, where it seems like we're a little bit of a lag, right? Whatever happens in California or New York City, it takes 5 years before it gets here.
Exactly.
It's great for the people who are on top of it and want to be the leaders, like you mentioned. So where did this all start? From what you and I have discussed, you've had some very interesting events growing up, and there were some things that you felt almost derailed you or could have changed your life drastically, and I would love to hear more about that and share that.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess initially day one, it kind of started, I was like, ever since I got this feeling, I was about 16 years old. I was going to school, going to high school, you know, I was cool with everybody, you know, school itself was fine, but I was like, I just did not want to like learn about anything that they were teaching, you know, I was just not interested, but I always knew I wanted to do something like grand. It was like in my stomach. I was like, I always knew I wanted to do something grand, but I didn't know what the heck it was. So there was actually just one night where I was missing school so much anyways, because I just didn't want to be there. I was missing school, and there was one night where I was just like bawling in my room, you know, because I was like, I wanted to get out what I felt in my stomach. You know, I wanted to get it out, but I know school wasn't it. Going to school was a punishment. Going to school was basically erasing what I wanted, you know. So I was just bawling in my room because I couldn't figure out what the heck this energy is that I wanted to get out. And then my mom ended up coming in. She's like, what's going on? You know, like, why are you crying? And I told her, was like, I want to do something. Like I want to like at the time it was kind of more fitness. That was kind of the passion at the time. So I told her, I was like, can you please just let me drop out of high school, let me get my GED, and let me go to pursue college and try to get like my degree in nutritional science or training or anything like that, and she just like looked at me and she just like, okay, if you do this, you got to promise you got to stick through it. And I'm like, first off, it's like, why are you listening to a 16-year-old with this crazy ass dream, so I was just like, so
pretty persuasive.
Yeah, so it was surprising. So I was like, okay. She's like, well, I'll take you out next week. And I was like, okay. I was like, this is going a lot better than I thought.
That's where your sales skills started?
Yeah, basically the first negotiation, first one. So, close that deal. No, I'm just kidding.
Want to know.
Yeah. So she let me out and went to do the GED test. I literally didn't even study, but it was just something I wanted to do and get done. When it took the test, passed the first time. There was like, it was weird because like, I always thought, I'm like, am I dumb? Am I dumb? Like, am I not retaining this stuff? But I guess I did retain it because in school I wouldn't do no homework, no nothing like that. When it took the test and I was like, I know that. I've seen that and I passed. So I was like, it just wasn't me not retaining it, just me not wanting to, and then it was still subconsciously there. So that's when I realized, I'm like, okay, I really need to focus on what I want, what I need to do, and I should not really even bother with stuff that's not going to put me in a position that is not where my energy wants to go.
Can we stop right there and discuss how important that is, especially for a young person, but for anyone? How often do you see people who are older than we are, who have this gut feeling and they don't pursue it? They settle for things that are less than excellent. They aren't willing to destroy the things that aren't perfect in their life, and things will never be perfect, but at least being involved in that pursuit.
Yeah.
I feel like for a young person, for you, obviously, acknowledging that feeling ended up being ultra important.
For older people, I feel like it's just the issues of, just habits, just people just getting into the same habits and going over and over again. They go robot mode, and then you get older, and then what happens when you get older? You start having families, and now you have kids. Now you have more responsibilities than you had when you're younger. Now it's even harder to quit your job and pursue your dream because now you got to feed your kids. Now you got to feed your wife, So that just pushes you back. It's not saying it's not possible because it's happened countless times, but then that just adds another piece of molding to, the dream. Say your dream is a statue. You're just adding another mold on there, making it disappear. So I think that would be the biggest thing with older people.
And from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of stories where people decided to take a similar route, but they ended up not doing anything. They stay at home. They're not learning anything new. They think where they're at's fine. They try to do the bare minimum because they just don't feel like it. But what I'm hearing from you is that you had this feeling. You decided that this was a better route, and you pursued education. I mean, whether formal or informal, you pursued education. You wanted to take steps to better yourself, and that is what you decided to do, which I think is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And it's especially, people need to hear that kind of message, especially at a younger age.
Yeah. I mean, it just goes to show that anything's really possible at any age. It's just all about, trying to figure out a plan to progress that way. So I think bodybuilding set the stage pretty well because, progress with day-to-day working out, week-to-week working out, progress is literally shown in your body, so that just gives a sense of progress in some way. So that was my brain just being like, okay, you're making progress in your life in some kind of way. It may not be this way or that way, but you're doing it in bodybuilding and you're just getting bigger, showing progress. And then the education side kind of tied with it because, the more educated you are, the more progress you make with the body. So that's kind of how I was going towards that. So I pursued school for a little bit, ended up dropping out again at like 17 and a half, almost 18. Ended up doing my first bodybuilding show because I'm like, hey, if I'm going to be doing it, I'm going to go all in. Ended up winning that. So Then I got addicted. I'm just like, all right, let's go. So I did another 2 shows after that. And then by the time I was 18, I was sponsored by Muscle Mania. They're the number one natural organization in America. I think they've been going since like 1992. And then they flew me out to do a show in Vegas. And did the show in Vegas, ended up losing that one. And then that was one of my biggest hits of oh, I'm not good enough, Then that was it was just a high going throughout from 16 to 18 and in half. And then after that, I got the loss at Vegas, and I was just like, felt like a failure, like horrible. And I didn't know how to manage that because I haven't really felt that yet. So that's whenever stuff started like flipping a little bit. That's when like I was introduced, to drinking, to drugs, all that stuff, because that was my way of being like, fuck it, dude, just get a regular job. You're not gonna do much with it anyways, and then that just spiraled me for a good minute. So I was going to shows at least every week, like raves and stuff like that every week, like from like 18 to like 20-ish, just going nonstop. And then from 20 to 21, I kind of like stepped back more into the mind of, trying to settle down with all that. So I settled down a little bit more. And then I believe around 21, 22, ended up going to a big rave out there in Las Vegas, EDC. And all my friends, they all had like, stuff on them that they wanted to take to an event, all these illegal things. And we were driving there, ended up getting pulled over. And I thought nothing of it because I was just like sitting in the back seat. I was drove like 6 hours there. It was 2 hours left, driving there. And my buddy's like trying to like turn the lights on. And he's like, I was like, dude, the lights are already on. And so he's like flashing the lights. It's like 9 o'clock at night. So just flashing lights all funky, just going on and off. I'm like, dude, come on. And first off, he's not even supposed to be driving because he's supposed to have an interlock in his car. So, so I'm like, shouldn't even let him drive in the first place. But we're driving and then we get pulled over because the cops are like, what the hell are you doing? And then they're just like seeing all these people in the car. And I think there was probably like an EDC sticker on the freaking car. So it was like just scream like red, red alarm, the red lights like crazy.
Got another one.
Yeah, so they already freaking knew. So they're like looking around and they're like, okay, step out the car. Because they had a right to have him step out the car because, he didn't have he's supposed to have an interlock. And then they asked everybody out. And then we're just like, oh, thought nothing of it, thought they were just going to get a ticket. And then they start searching the car. And I'm like, wait, I was like, there's stuff in there. I'm like, oh crap. And they're checking everything. They grab the bag and I'm just like, it's done. I was like, dude, I'm fucked. I'm like, it felt like a dream after that. They put me in the car, they handcuffed me. I was sitting in the car and they're like interrogating us, and we're in Arizona, almost to Nevada, and just like freaking out. And then they ended up transporting us. It was like an hour and a half drive or something to the freaking jail. We get there and I'm like, I don't have my phone. I don't have nothing. I can't call anybody. I don't know anybody's number by heart. So I'm just like, what the hell am I going to do? Am I going to stay here forever? How long am I going to stay here? Like freaking out. I go in there, and, end up, we're all in different cells. So I don't know who the hell I'm with. All these people, just like a courtyard of people. Really? Yeah. So I'm like, hey guys, they're like, what are you in here for? I'm like, I tell them, they're like, oh really? And like, surprisingly, everybody there was extremely nice. So like, I was like, okay, what's up guys? Like, yeah, you want to play a game? It's like, it wasn't that bad in there, but obviously the situation was like, what the heck am I going to do? Like, what's going on? Went to the, the little computer court or whatever the next day. And they're like, yeah, you guys will get released in like a week. And then you got, we'll figure out everything after that. So we got released and then came back.
A week later?
Yeah.
Dang, you were there for a week.
Yeah, in there for a week and not knowing what the hell is going on. And while I was in there, I was trying to figure out like, how am I going to contact my family, because they're probably wondering about me. So like 2-3 days went by. And then I had this dude that I met in there, Jonathan, Gustav. And he was like, yeah, he's like, why don't we just ask somebody on the phone to call like your friend or family or whatever. So I had them, he went up to the phone, to the dude at the phone, and had the guy on the phone's mom call my friend's work. And then they ended up contacting my friend from there. My friend contacted my family. And then from there, I got all their numbers. And I was able to talk to them every day. So thankfully, like, if it wasn't for that situation, they'd be out of the blue. And I'd be like, have no ride back to New Mexico. Because they just released you. They're like, all right, we're in the desert.
Let you on the front steps, huh?
Yeah, they're just like, they'll just let you out. So I wouldn't have a ride or anything. So, thankful for that. So I ended up getting out. I ended up getting a ride and stuff. Came back. And then they told me, they're like, yeah, so you're going to be on probation for 3 years. So I was like, I was like, what does that even mean? So basically it's, you're chained up like this whole time, you can't leave the state, you can't do anything, and then this was me like coming off of, like partying off and on for like a good amount of years and just not being used to being chained up and trying to travel, trying to go to shows and stuff like that. But after that, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to settle down. start like, I started reading in jail, so I started getting more developed with reading, and I'm like, oh shit, this is actually like, helping. And I started doing more self-development stuff, and I started getting more into self-development. I was like meditation, stuff like that, and started getting way more into that. And then so like about 2 years passed by, and then
Still on probation?
yeah, still on probation. Ended up slipping up 2 times. If I slipped up one more time, like did a violation, they would have sent me to prison for the remainder of my time. So before that, it was either like I do 10 years in prison, or it was the 3 years on probation, like full on probation. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to jail for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way.
Still be in there.
Yeah, so I was like, there's no way. So I went through that 2 years, and like I said, I had 2 violations, and I was like, you know what, I need to figure out what the hell, like, so that feeling in my stomach started coming back. I was like, I need to do something. This self-development stuff like awakened what I needed to do again. I'm like, now I'm getting the tools to figure out what the hell I need to do, So then that's when I was like, you know what, I started watching, Ryan Serhant, Josh Allman, all them on YouTube, and I was like, this looks pretty cool. I was like, and they like their job, because at the time I was like, you can actually like your job, because I'm just serving all these years. I'm just doing serving jobs all these years. And I was like, what the heck? I was like, so that was a different concept to like see them, how much they like their job. And I was just like, holy crap, that's might be something I could do. And I started looking up to it more. And I was like, so the better I do, the better the client does. So it was like a direct relation, of like contacts. I was like, this is perfect, and then there's no cap on what you can make. So there's financial stability, contribution, and then continuous progression. So I was like, these are all 3 major things that I need in my life. So I was sitting there one night, and I just had my credit card out, and I'm like, the class is like about $1,000. I'm like, I don't have a lot of money, but I'm like, screw it, I'll pay over like the next 3 months. Put on my credit card, went through the class, and I swear I've never been so interested in any kind of schooling than ever. I would sit there for like 6 to 8 hours just reading the shit out of these books. Just like so much information to retain, but I'm just, yes, the law and this and that and the covenants and like, oh, just so much freaking, concepts in this book. Just sitting there, zoomed through class, and then ended up finished all my classes, which is about 90 hours of classes. Went to take my test, and ended up passing the first time. So I always joke about that. I'm like, the test that I ever only passed in my life was the GED and my real estate test. It's the only test I ever passed. Don't ask me about any test in high school or middle school. I didn't pass them. These are the only tests that mattered and the only tests that I passed. So that was freaking awesome. So at the time, still on probation, asking the state, hey, give me my license. I got all the stuff. I'm ready to go. Let's get it. And then they sent me back. They're like, nope, you need to be on probation till you do it. And this was literally June. So this was 1 year before my probation. So like literally 1 year, it was 12 months until it was done.
Oh, still 12 months.
Yeah, so I still have 12 months left. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean I can't get my license? They're like, yeah, because like you can't be like a person on probation, serving the public. And I'm like, so I like lost it. I was like, what is my way around this? So I ended up contacting my probation officer here in town. And he told me, I never forget this. I was like, dude, I got everything done. I'm ready to change my life. Can you release me? He's like, you actually have to ask Arizona, because that's where you got caught. You got to ask that judge. He's like, but you violated 2 times. He's like, it's not likely. He's like, but honestly, Henry, he's like, you miss all the shots you don't take. He's like, remember, and he sat back and he just went like that. And I'm just like, no, I'm going to fucking ask. What's going to hurt? I'm going to fucking ask. So he told me that, and that stuck with me. So literally that same day, I called the probation officer in Arizona. I was like, hey, Tiffany. I was like, I finished everything, like all the community service and all that stuff, paying the dues and all that. I was like, I recently got my real estate license, or I'm trying to, but I can't unless I'm on probation. I still got a year left, but I did violate 2 times. She's like, oh, you did this and that, the community and all that. She's like, you got 2 years in? She's like, okay. She's like, I think you'll probably be good. I was like, but I have 2 violations. I want to make that prominent because I didn't want to like come back and like bite me in the ass. And she's like, yeah, I think you'll be fine. So I was like, okay. She's like, yeah, I'll request it from the judge. And super nice about it. I'm like, okay. So just hung up the phone, waited like 2, maybe 3 days. And called him back and I was like, hey, Tiffany, just wanted to follow up. And she's like, Henry, right? I'm like, yeah. She's like, yeah, they signed off. I was like, what do you mean they signed off? He's like, I was like, what do you mean they signed off? And then she's like, yeah, you're released. You're released. And I'm like, I fucking started crying. I was like, are you serious right now? I was like, there's no way. There's no way. It's really, I was like, so I'm done. I'm off probation, nothing anymore. She's like, yeah. And I was like, I love you. I was like, oh my God. Freaking out so much. So then I was like, thank you so much. I appreciate you, blah, blah, blah. And like at the time I was actually living at these apartments and my mom was literally like, here was one building and she was over here, literally like 50 feet away. Busted out my door, sprinting over there, knocked on the door. I was like, mom. She's like, what the fuck do you want? I was like, I'm off probation. I was like, I'm off, I'm done. She's like, are you fucking serious? And we hugged and we were just crying there. And I told her, I was like, mom, now I could finally do what I told you I was going to do. So I was like, that was the moment when I was like, fucking time to kick this shit into full gear. You saw what you could have lost. Let's never, ever, ever take that for granted again and go full fucking force and show not only myself, but the world and my family that I love very much, what the fuck you can do, what you said you were going to do, what they trusted you to do, at that time, a little 16-year-old, but they trusted you as a person, as a human being to do what you said you were going to do. And now I just went full force from then. And I've done everything that I possibly can for my family. Until then, I've bought like at least 3 of my family members' vehicles. I pay most of my grandparents' bills. I pay for their food every month. So like being in that position now, that's what like really kicked me in the ass and made me realize like I'm getting this energy out every day. So just to feel that, like my 16-year-old self inside of me right now is like, dude, this is what I fucking told you. This is exactly what I told you. And I'm just living it out now. I'm just trying to grow, give back, and like love the shit out of everyone that I can, and just really compiling all that together. So that story is what really all those events is what really like pushed me into the position that I'm in. A lot of people are just like, oh, fancy car, you got a Porsche, you got this, you got that. I'm like, bro, let me tell you how many times I felt like fucking shit drinking after doing these drugs and fucking not feeling like I'm not going to do anything, making myself feel like my family members think I'm a piece of shit because I'm just partying all the time, So just really pushing out of that position, and now it's like, dude, I got the worst possible kick in your ass that you could think of. Maybe it's some other people that's failing at a job or failing at this or whatever. It's like, dude, I faced almost 10 years of prison. I fucking went through tons of amount of partying phase and drugs and alcohol and sometimes being around the wrong people and the worst type of mental destruction is just having no confidence throughout those years and having to refine that confidence, reevaluate my life and be like, dude, you're not where you want to be, but if you start getting these words like we talked about earlier from all these books and start getting all these mentors like online, you could put yourself where you need to be, and just being okay with not being where you are, but realizing the word is out there. Any word that you need to hear to push you fucking forward, it is there. And trust me, no matter how fucking deep in the water you are, hear the word, tell yourself the word, and you could fucking get there.
How important is it to know who you are, to have an identity and to carry the confidence in that way through your actions? What does knowing who Henry Padilla is mean to you?
It's really huge because, there's a lot of things, just as a human being that's trying to block who you are. It's trying to block your confidence, and the society in general is trying to mold you into something that you don't want to be. And sometimes other people too, their bad mood might make you go in a bad mood, but you cannot let you put yourself in a position to be controlled by another person, ever. So just having full confidence in your identity is just something really huge, to me especially, because there's a lot of moments where shit just goes wrong in general, in business and stuff like that. And you're able to reevaluate and learn from it. But if you don't reevaluate and learn from it, then you take it personal, and then that's whenever it fucks up your identity, because it's like, oh, like instead of being like Henry, the guy doing good and doing well in life, it's like, oh, now Henry's a piece of shit because he lost that deal. It's like you're gonna reevaluate your identity every day, but as long as you have at least 90 to 95% remembered who's there, because there's always gonna be a little bit of noise in the background that's trying to be like, oh, you're a piece of shit, you're not doing enough, you're not doing this, you're not doing that.
All the time, huh?
Every day, especially when you're doing a lot and you start over evaluating, you're like, oh, and it's a lot of tools, that you need to put together. But that's the fun part, because progression is really gonna fucking set you up, to stay where you want to be. If not, then it's like, what do I do? What do I do?
Somebody put it recently that you have your big vision and you look at all the obstacles in your way. A lot of people end up being intimidated by those obstacles, and it happens, obviously, because those can be frustrating or scary. But a lot of people avoid them completely instead of understanding that those obstacles are literally the raw material for making that vision a reality. And when you grab that and craft a plan and transform those obstacles into action steps, you end up accomplishing something that's really, really sweet. And it's awesome to see that that's what you've done with your life, with all the craziness and all the transformations. It's pretty unique, and I think it speaks to the spirit that you have and your willingness to trust in yourself, to know who you are, and to say that my life is in my hands. I'm not going to rely on anybody else's emotions or actions or this or that to determine the story of Henry Padilla, but instead on the pen stroke of my own. So that's super sweet that you're sharing that. Looking back at your 16-year-old self, is there some words that you would share with that 16-year-old, or any young people that are struggling with something right now and struggling with their identity? Is there something that sticks out to you that you specifically would like to emphasize?
Honestly, one of the biggest things that I could say is a lot of people, I feel, especially young people, they aren't scared to do, really big things. Everybody really wants to do big things. They're just scared that they will do these big things and they can't handle it. So they're just, they feel like they can do it, but when they get there, the pressure is just gonna crush them, And I think that's the biggest obstacle, I went through, is like all those years, because, I had the feeling in my stomach, but it was like, what if you get there, dude? What if you really get there and you can't fucking handle it? Like, you are just gonna be the biggest, POS ever, because like, imagine doing what you love. There's one way of like, just doing whatever society wants you to do and then failing, that kind of hurts. But imagine doing what you love and then failing. It hurts even 10 times more, 100 times more to do what you love and then still fail, So that hurts way more. And like, obviously there's paths, of doing what you love, and obviously you're going to fail, but those are all minor adjustments, Your big end goal is still going to be there.
Exactly. It's not the end of the road. It just means that you have to take different actions, look at some pivots, talk to some mentors, get better advice. That's pretty awesome. I wish I received more of that advice when I was 16. And I'm grateful that we're sharing it here, because a lot of people, I think, would appreciate that. And I know we're running out of time here, and I appreciate you being here, man. You're definitely daring to be great, and you fit the scene most definitely.
Thank you.
I guess from there, is there any other message that you'd like to share? Any other adventures that have served as life lessons to you?
Honestly, I would just say, just kind of something more specific to New Mexico and Albuquerque. Here, if you try to do big things, a lot of people are going to talk bad about you. They're going to talk behind your back, and it's becoming a huge habit. But if we all align together, all, successful people in general, not just young successful people, we band together and we hype each other up no matter what industry we're in. And if we band together to help this town and help each other, we will eliminate all these people, these lower vibration people that are just hating because they see a light shining on what they could have been. We start just getting rid of those mentalities and maybe even switching them over, but it's not going to happen unless we collaborate, we hype each other up, and we make success successful people normal here. You know, especially like younger people in suits, you never see that. I would love to normalize that. You know, it's just a, you know, it's just a symbol of, you know, business. You know, you could have your own style, but that's one way to compartmentalize, you know, putting it out there and stuff. But honestly, that's all I would say is like, if you see someone doing good, support them, support their business, love the people that are doing good or trying, you know, help them up. You know, there's a lot of people here trying to do big things. Don't push them down because it's not something, you know, you align with or you agree with. As long as it's pushing positivity into the world and they're serving some kind of purpose, you know, hype them up. Let's start being like these other bigger cities. You know, I think that's the biggest thing is let's love each other. You know, that's the biggest thing.
How can people love on and support you? I know I actually would have liked to jump into a little bit about the nonprofit, but how can people be involved with you in the real estate business, but also in your nonprofit work? Are there specific collaborators that you're looking for?
With me personally, on all social medias, it's just Henry Padilla. If you search me, you'll find it. Probably the only Henry Padilla on social media whenever I look it up too. So you just look up Henry Padilla Social Team, socialteamnm.com. That's where you're gonna find our information, and then Henry Padilla Social Team on YouTube for all of our video content. And then as for the nonprofit, we're still a little bit in the beginning stage. We're of course looking for sponsors and stuff, but we're gonna really diligently search for who we want to align ourselves with, you know, and the businesses. And then honestly too, if there's any business out there that you know of that's struggling, that's a real, you know, cornerstone, you know, like, you know, maybe it's, you know, Mr. Joe who's been at the shoe shop for 50 years and he's going under, or he needs help, or he lost employees and he just needs help, you know, for a week or a weekend to clean the shop up, you know, because he can't pay the employees. Something of that sort. If you want to nominate someone, contact me on social media. You could email me. I'm sure you'll put all the information below.
Yeah, put it all below.
But yeah, just going from there. We're still expanding on it. You guys will see more videos soon. Just follow me and we'll put more of that, you know, that energy out there. Like I said, we need to support each other. We need to support our businesses, our business people, and, you know, just let's hype each other up. You know, let's stop with the hate. Stop it. Stop.
I think this world needs a little bit more of daring to be great.
Yeah, we need to put that idea. They just need to hear the word, man. They just need to hear the word.
Yeah, hear the word. I like that. Well, Henry, thank you for letting us hang out with you. Thanks for sharing your story. Super awesome. I think this is going to be super sweet for all of the listeners out there. Big inspiration, and super grateful to have you here in Albuquerque, here in New Mexico. Our state needs you, and I think this country needs you.
Thank you, man.
Great to see you being a role model, and not only will I be, you know, following you up on those things, but
Definitely.
I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the community rising up the same through your leadership. So
I'm excited, man. Let's do it. Let's become one. Let's become Albuquerque. Get this pride together.
I like it. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for showing up. Please look down in the comments below for all of Henry's info. Reach out to him, ask him questions, get involved. Reach out to me, ask me questions. You know, I always like to have good conversations, and collaboration is the name of the game. So whoever we can collaborate with to make this community a better one, we are absolutely 100% interested in having discussions with and seeing what we can do to make an impact. So I think we will leave it at that. It's been an awesome episode, and we will see you all next time.
See you guys. Thank you.